So week 12, we are going to dissect a spruce bud. And this is a pretty cool lab because spruce are a species that undergoes preformed growth, which means everything that would happen next spring is right here in this bud right now. So we can actually dissect it, take a look at the needle primordia, which looks like a bumpy green jujube inside the bud, and we could actually count all the primordia. So we can actually look at how many needles will this spruce bud put on next year. So this is something that happens in greenhouses so that they can track the growth of their spruce and other species as well. Spruce is just one that it works really well with, which is why we use it. And that just allows them to charge top dollar for their spruce because they know that, you know, had they not cut it open, that this is the growth that would happen next spring or when they're looking to sell. So the reason that we actually dissect the bud is because this is how I can draw this process, and it's terrible, I know that. So basically what we have here is our bark in white, and then our lateral meristem, so that's the area of the tree that puts on secondary growth or diameter. Then we have our apical meristem at the root, so the root tip, and then our shoot tip, which is also an apical meristem. So rather than just let you learn off of this, we're actually going to slice this open. So this lab, it takes a lot of effort and just fine detail. So we'll see how this goes. And this lab, probably more than any, you are likely going to be grateful that you don't have to actually do this yourself. You can just watch us do it. So the first thing we want to do is clear away all of last year's needles, get them out of the way because they're going to cause us issue. There's some sort of insect egg in there, so we've put a stop to it as well. And essentially, we're looking to isolate the apical bud. So I've ripped off a lateral bud by accident, but that's okay because we had to get it out of the way anyways. So when we're done stripping the needles, we actually, there goes another lateral bud. We actually have to slice into the bark, and so that gets a lot trickier when there are needles in the way. So if we strip them, it just makes the next step easier. So we don't need to strip all of the needles all the way down. We just need to do so for a certain distance. My fingers are now sticky from playing with spruce buds. So sometimes when you get away from the bud, it is just easier to pluck the needles off with your bare hand. So now we have most of the needles off. We have exposed our apical bud. You can see the green right in here. So right inside the bark, the green part that you see there is the lateral meristem, so that's what would put on the secondary growth, and the primary growth is going to come from what's right in here. So we can use a variety of tools. We can use an X-Acto knife, and basically we're trying to shave into the bud and expose the needle primordia. So I'm going to switch just to a razor blade, try not to slice my helper's hand off. And there we go. That actually worked perfectly. Okay, so what has happened here is I've taken the entire bud off, but I can see that this little part right here at the very tip, that's our green jujube. So it really doesn't look like much here, especially if it's hard to get it focused, but this is what we can put under the microscope. So we're going to put this under the microscope, and we'll post some photos for you to see of what this looks like close up. And basically what we're going to see is this nice little lump in the middle, and that's our apical meristem, and then all these little bumps on the surrounding tissue, and that what forms the jujube. Those are each going to turn into a needle.